It's a very good morning to the Gelding and a little bit of a delayed start, Gelding. The bugs in the system not helping us today, so we had to delay just a little bit.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Yeah, Professor, maybe an upgrade required.
It's the wonders of the NBN, Gelding. You know,
it's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Fast internet service, except when you don't get it.
Maybe the Melbourne Racing Club's running the internet service.
Well, funny you should mention the Melbourne Racing Club, Gelding, because there's a 9-race program at Caulfield. We're welcoming racing back to the metropolitan area.
Yes, Professor, we're back. And of course, being a MRC member, you would have got invited to a meeting today that starts an hour before the races about the future of Sandown.
Yes, I've elected not to go, Gelding. I don't think they'll listen to me.
Yeah, I don't think they'll listen to anyone, really. But, yes, I chose not to go because why wouldn't they live scream it to all the members, Professor, or let the press in? Maybe you think it's a hidden agenda already done and they just want to keep it secret to say that they can speak to the members?
Not taking advantage of technology, Gelding, that's the problem.
No, Professor, very much so. So let's see, after the stuff up of what's going on at Caulfield, let's see them stuff up Sandown, right?
Well,
maybe then they can buy a whole lot of bread shops, Professor.
No good can come out of it, Gelding. Anyway, as I said, 9-race program. The first is, I think, 12:30. Interestingly, Gelding, the feature race, the Redoubt's Choice Stakes, race 4. Why would you have your main race at race 4? I don't understand that.
Yeah, Professor, what can I say?
Well, what we can say, Gelding, is well done. Well done, Melbourne Racing Club.
Yeah, normally they're race 5 or 6 or something like that, or 7, the main races. Yeah, but just another one to keep us guessing, I suppose, Professor, from the Melbourne Racing Club.
All right, well, the track's rated a good 4. The rail's in the true position. What are your 2 red-hot tips for today's Caulfield race, mate?
Well, Professor, you know, I panic at Caulfield. I think it's always, normally I would work on being a leader's track or an on-pace type of horse to be there. Worried that with little rain that we've got a beautiful day. I hope they haven't ordered the inside track, the inside part of the track like they did last meeting or 2 meetings ago when they were there and that was off. So without the interference of the Melbourne Racing Club, I'm hoping for a fair track, probably to favour the front runners, Professor. My first tip is my tips are later in the day. First one being race 7, number 3, Belle Savoie. That's a Nick Ryan trained horse ridden by Blake McDougall. Professor, a very interesting horse. 2 starts for 2 wins. The wins, though, were a year apart. So obviously this horse has had a few troubles after it won its first race and now in March of 21. And now it wins its second race in March of 22. So a 3-year-old filly by not a doubt. Hopefully it can put the third one together, Professor. Then I'm going in race 9, horse 7, Old Flame, trained by the Snowdens, again ridden by Blake McDougall. This is a Peter Snowden import brought over from England. We were both pretty impressed by its last start win, Professor, at Sandown. So hopefully, again, this imported horse can put another win together at Caulfield. So I suppose my only concern with my tips, Professor, I hope the track doesn't get too hard for later in the day. And you like, Professor?
Yeah, Gelding, it's an interesting day. Like race 2, I fancy the Victoria Handicap over 2,000 metres, a benchmark 84 race, and in that race I like horse 2 Playoffs. Coming out of barrier 2, It's had 20 starts for 5 wins and 6 placings. So it's got a 25% win rate, 55% place rate. It's won over the distance before. It's won at Caulfield. I did a bit of research on this one, Gelding. 2 starts back, it was beaten by just over a length by a horse by the name of Crystal Pegasus. Now, Crystal Pegasus has gone on to win 2 listed races since then, the Roy Higgins and the $300,000 Mornington Cup. So that's excellent form. And it was just beaten in the last 2 strides. It ran second on that day to another horse, Gelding Russo, who's won both of its subsequent races. So it's beaten by 2 very good horses. So I think it might have the number of those horses today. Matthew Cartwright, the apprentice, is in the saddle, claiming 2 kilos. So it'll run at 57.5. And coming out of the Mayor Eustace stable. So there's a lot to like about it. And you can get good each way odds at the moment, Gelding, of $3.55 and $1.60.
Oh, Professor, what a very good bet. And a Richie Benno special, is it? Race 2, number 2 out of barrier 2.
All the 2s, Gelding.
All the 2s. Yes. Very good, Professor. I like it. A good way to start the parlays.
I think so, Gelding. And my second horse for the day in race 8, 1,600 metre race, benchmark 84 race. Number 6, Ain't No Deal Done, all one word. I generally steer away from horses with exotic.
Yeah, you don't like those kind of horses, do you?
No, but no. I've decided that this is too good a horse to be off today, Gelding. Also out of barrier 2.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but race 8, number 6, barrier 2.
All right.
Now, is the name something to do with another profession of yours, Professor?
Well, it could be, Gelding. You know, there's ain't no deal done until it is done.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Gelding.
That's released and signed.
Exactly. 8 starts for 3 wins, no placings. So it's got a 38% win and place rate. It's won listed races at Morfettville and Flemington, Gelding. So, and it's won second up before. So it's dropping back in class. So I would think that, and its last race was in Group 3 at Flemington. Now, admittedly, it ran 8th, but it's a big step down in class. So I think we can see it showing to the fore today. Jamie Mott in the saddle and trained by the Freedmen. So my 2 horses for today, Gelding, race 2, horse 2 playoffs, and race 8, horse 6, Ain't No Deal Done.
Both good each way tips there, Professor. I like both of them. And in race 8, a very important scratching. What probably I thought would have started favourite, Hosier.
Yep.
The Lloyd Williams trained horse has been scratched. So very, very important and one less to do. And as you said, dropping back from Group 3 Class 2 off-season racing, trained by the Freedmans, ridden by Jamie Mott. You got to be every chance, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. And good each way odds, Gelding. $4.40 and $1.80 today.
Beautiful, beautiful, Professor.
So
enticing.
Enticing for the parlays, Gelding. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm looking forward to these parlays, Professor. With our late start, I was filling out the TAB tickets with a lot of zest.
Very nice, Gelding. Very nice. All right. The Professor's parlay, 2 out of 3 legs up again last week.
Oh, well.
Let me crack the horse leg, Gelding. So the agreed bet of the day, as far as you and I are concerned, is race 9, horse 7, Old Flame. When you get to our age, Gelding, we've had a few Old Flames. all in the rearview mirror, though.
Oh, long time ago, Professor.
Exactly right. And let's
was that this century or last century?
Last century, Gelding. Let's parlay that into one of the bets of the day, the Penrith Panthers to beat the Canterbury Bulldogs.
Oh.
The Canterbury Bulldogs, hopeless last week, Gelding. I saw it in person, 44-0. And Melbourne Storm did a clinic on them.
Yes, your side's not performing very well, are they, Professor?
That side is not. And the Penrith Panthers on top of the league, 4 wins straight. This will be 5-0 in a canter, Gelding.
Yeah, hopefully they'll keep it under 44.
Well, fingers crossed, but I doubt it. It's being played at the foot of the hills, so Penrith's home ground. So the Bulldogs could get the customary shellacking out there.
Might be a dam, Professor.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's parlay that into the Sydney Swans to beat North Melbourne. North Melbourne very disappointing in Brisbane. And on the road again, gee, that's a tough draw, Gelding.
That is, isn't it?
Brisbane last week and then Sydney in Sydney this week.
Yeah. You reckon the AFL might be sending them a message?
Move to Tasmania, maybe.
Maybe, yes.
So Sydney, 2 wins from 3 starts. North Melbourne, only 1 win and beaten by over 100 points by Brisbane last week. So Sydney hard to beat at home. And as I said, North Melbourne on the road again. So I think that's a pretty safe bet. So the parlay showing the nice odds of 5-1, Gelding.
Oh, beautiful, Professor. Well, let's hope Old Flame gets up and we're away with it.
Let's hope for that, Gelding. All right, now Sportsfan Radio tomorrow, the usual suspects. It was a pretty good discussion last week, and no doubt the AFLW Grand Final will be a topic of discussion tomorrow.
Yes. Big day in sport tomorrow, Professor. Sydney races are going ahead, so we can maybe look back at some of them. Maybe what I would regard as one of the best races going around, the Queen Elizabeth, with 3 or 4 of my favourites in it, with Very Elegant, Zaki and Animo, Professor. I think the Grand National, the National Velvet, is on tonight at Aintree. So I'll try and peep into that. One of the spectacles in racing. But the Grand Prix in Melbourne, Women's Grand Final in Adelaide, football in Melbourne. So, excuse me, a lot happening, Professor.
Plenty for us to discuss on Sportsfan Radio tomorrow, Gelding, at midday on the Sportsfan Radio YouTube channel. And what we'd suggest is, if you like these programs, that you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel, because you'll see some terrific sporting shows on our channel. Now, also, as I mentioned last week, the Sportsfan Radio podcasts are also up. And this week's podcast was Jack Kelly, the rower. And Gelding, you asked some pretty interesting questions, I must admit.
Well, we try to, Professor.
Yeah. All right, Gelding. Well, that's racing for today. So until next Saturday, it's good luck.